Hello, everyone. This is Mark Lynn from Healthcare Business Specialist. I've got 1 o'clock each, means it is time for the webinar to begin. Today's webinar is cost reporting for rural health clinics. This is going to be more like a work session where we're going to go through the checklist and show you what we need and why it's important for you to get us that information. So I'd like for you to introduce our team. We'll all be talking session, I hope, and just going through this checklist with you. Here's the team. Mark Lynn, I'm a CPA, certified rural health clinic professional and certified cost reporting specialist. Gilbert is our partner, and she'll be taking over the company when I retire. And so Dani does a great job with just about everything. Paige Chambers is with us. She previously had worked with Vanderbilt. She'd worked with others. She's just a great asset, emergency preparedness topic expert. And so Paige can help you with that. And of course, we all prepare cost reports this time of report season. And then Trent Jackson. Trent is actually from the Chattanooga area, went to church together with Trent. He was an intern in Nashville, worked for Kraft Brothers in the healthcare consulting portion of, and then came back last year with us, and he's still based out of Nashville. And he works with evidence binders, cost reporting, any type of special project that we have. He does a great job with that. So this is our team. Some of the things that we do program evaluation. So if you haven't done your every 2 years, you have to do a program evaluation. If you've not done that, let us know. Efficiency. If you want to become, if you're not an RHC yet and want to become one, we can help you become one. Just not now. Wait May 31st to do that, because right now we're going to be busy for the next few months. If you are behind on your emergency preparedness piece, let us know. Paige can help you get that. For that, we've had to do that quite a bit, where people forget about their emergency preparedness, and then next thing you know, they get a condition level deficiency, and they have to do it very quick to get it so they can get out of that condition level deficiency state with the TCT or Quad A or the state, depending on who your accreditor is. And then finally, if you're in Tennessee and you need some help doing your TennCare quarterly reporting, Dani heads our team up for that, and we can help you with that as well. So those are the services that HBS provides. As a disclaimer, this session is being recorded and the information is current as of today. This session, unlike the other webinars that we will be doing in the future and the one we've done in the past, is not eligible for any RHC certified rural health clinic professional credits, because I felt this one was more specific to our clients, even though if you're not one of our clients for cost reporting, some of this information will be helpful to you to help you understand why the person is asking you for this information, even though you'll use probably different forms. But we did not ask for it there. If you do have questions, please just put them in the question box and we will answer those at the end. Your presentation, it is in the handout section over there, so you can get it. It has links to all of the items that are on here. Also, there's a checklist over there. There's a 25-page checklist and a 3-page checklist over there. We also posted the slide presentation on our Facebook group and on our website as well. So if your handout doesn't load, which a lot of times the PowerPoint presentation will not load because it's huge, just go to those other sources and you'll be able to find it as well. Here is the agenda. I will go over basically the checklist with you and go over what's important. Dani, we have the slides for IDM and MCREF there. She may not go through all of the slides, but she will give you an overview of what's required there and get you headed in the right direction. Paige will go over transferring data to us. We use a portal called Canopy. and it's a third-party portal. That is the way that you can send information securely. So if you've got PHI, definitely want to send it through there. If you're sending W-2s and vaccines and all those sorts of things, you'll want to put it, you want to use that because that's the most secure way to send it to us. So, and then Trent Jackson will talk about bad debts for a few minutes at the very end, not a whole lot here. If you want to find out information about cost reports, here's some of the places that you can find it. Our Facebook group. Most of you are a member. We're right at 5,000 members right now. So thank you for joining the RHC Information Exchange and exchanging information, ideas, answers, questions. It has been a roaring success that you guys have participated so well in this group. And if you're not a member, please join us and please participate. This is our website, ruralhealthclinic.com/RHC cost reporting. This is where we put the cost reporting information. This is the way it looks right now. I just updated it this morning, and it has all of the checklist. It has the presentation on it, and it also has a placeholder for this webinar once it's over with, so you can go back and watch it, or you can share it with somebody who could not attend today. Trent Jackson finally fixed our YouTube channel. For some reason, it would go to my personal YouTube channel. Sometimes it would go to our company YouTube channel. And about a month or so ago, Trent put everything on a new YouTube channel. So please subscribe to it. I know we only have like 8 people subscribed. On the other ones, we probably have 500 or 600 people in total subscribed. But if you subscribe to those channels, ignore those. Everything in the future will go on here. And Trent is doing this really neat thing called RHC Shorts, where we take one little segment and look at it very closely. So if you have a question about pneumococcal vaccines, how to report those on the cost report, you can go to RHC Shorts number 3, and you'll get the 5-minute version of it. You don't have to come into this hour webinar and figure out what portion is in there. And so we will be working on more and more of these shorts so we can give you this information in little bites versus, you know, having a drink from a fire hose like you have to do in these webinars. So please subscribe to this channel, and we will continue to add to it. We're never going to be monetized on it because there's not that much interest in it, but so we're not going to be YouTube stars like Mr. Beast or anything like that, but it will get you the information that you need. If you do have questions, every other Wednesday, the National Association of Rural Health Clinics with Nathan Baugh and Sarah Holman, they have a place where you can call in. Most days I am there on the session as well, so you can ask questions about cost reporting there, and I will typically be able to help Nathan and Sarah with those. So please join those. They're very helpful. There's always really good questions in that 1-hour session. And then getting to the cost report, cost reporting is, the stakes are much higher than they've ever been. The caps are much higher than they've ever been, and the complexity is much more than it was. It takes a lot longer to do cost reports than it did before. So please start sooner than you did before, and we're going to start sooner than we did before. We're going to try to make sure that we don't run into the bottleneck at the end of the year. You know, like we saw that last year where there's just so much. And again, there's so much more work that we have to do on these cost reports than we've done in the past to get you to the highest possible rate without having you guys pay back a ton of money. So why is it important? You're going to settle up with Medicare, and sometimes you settle up with Medicaid, and you may get a refund, or you may have to pay back a large amount. The caps are going up by $13 a year. So that is a lot. The caps used to go up by $1 a year. You're playing in the low stakes. You're playing on the nickel table if we're using a gambling, you know, Las Vegas reference. But now we're on the $13 table. The stakes are, like I said, much, much higher. You can get a large refund. I've seen $100,000, $200,000 refunds on these cost reports that people get settled up. And I've seen people have to pay back $100,000. That was never saw that in the past. So you'll want to have a very accurate cost report so you have the correct settlement. Your Medicaid rates are based upon your cost reports. Typically, if you're in a base year, you'll want to pay particular attention to these cost reports. And it really depends on what state you're in and what the life cycle you're in your rural health clinic. If you're brand new, the RHC program, reach out and talk to us or your cost report preparer about how Medicaid sets the rate in the state that you live in. You will get additional money for your influenza, your pneumococcal, COVID, MABs, Medicare Bad Debts, and there is a little bit of money on preventive copays and deductibles in there as well. Again, your next year's rates are based upon this year's cost report. So, for example, we want to try to get as much cost as we can in your cost report and actually get your cost per visit above next year's cap. That way, Medicare will set your rate next year at next year's cap. If we don't get it that high, they will not set your cap that high. So our goal is always to get your cost per visit optimized. And by optimized, we mean at a rate above next year's cap. Can't always do that, especially with the caps are getting higher. Most of you guys will not be hitting the caps anymore. I just hate to tell you this, but you're not going to be hitting the caps. Your cost per visit is going to be so hard to stay at 139 or 152 per visit. And the reason is Blue Cross only pays you guys, $115, $120 a visit. Your Medicare Advantage plans do not pay these higher rates. So it's going to be super hard unless you just lose a ton of money to keep your rates up this high. Or if you're a hospital and part of a provider-based RHC and the hospital can allocate tons of overhead from the hospital, you're going to have an easier time hitting these caps. But as an independent RHC where this money spent is coming out of your pocket, it's going to be super hard to meet these higher caps. And then, of course, you're responsible. You're going to be the one that signs off on this, even though it's signed off electronically, that these are accurate and in compliance. So you'll want to pay attention to this, get us the accurate information so we can file an accurate cost report. Here's the checklist that we have. I guess before I get started on the checklist, Dani, Paige, Trent, y'all have anything y'all want to talk before we move on?
I do not.
Okay. Trent, we good?
We're good. We're good from my end.
Okay. Paige, you got anything?
No, sir. We're good.
All right. They're used to me talking all the time, I guess. So okay. All right. So let's go ahead. Y'all break in if you need something to talk about something. Again, talking about the increase, the actual increase of the cost per visit is going to go up to $190 by 2028. You're probably never going to get that high. Again, with all the different changes, there's all these exclusions from the cost per visit calculation. Some things count, some things don't. Cost reports are a lot more complex. When I started doing this, 1987, when I first started doing Medicare cost reports, these rural health clinic cost reports are much, much more complicated. So we need time to get these things done. We basically have a good 1 month for all four of us to get a couple hundred cost reports done. So we need you to upload everything you can in our portal by May the 1st, 2024. If we don't get everything by then, we cannot guarantee that you're going to get this cost report filed timely, because we need time to work on that. So you guys have a deadline of May the 1st to get that to us. I know that's a little bit sooner than we've asked before, but we found last year that it's just so important to get this information to us sooner so that we can get these filed as accurately and quickly as possible. So here is the information. There's the 3-page checklist that we'll go over. Here's the 25, it says 24, it says it's 25 pages. I added a page to it, 25-page checklist and work papers. And then Trent has put together an Excel spreadsheet. If you want to do everything electronically, which is the preferred way, you can go in there and your work papers are set up electronically. So you can go in an Excel spreadsheet and fill in your information in there. We have it in a PDF format if you want to write it in there, but really Excel is the way to go. Save it with your name on it, save it with the fiscal year end on it. So if you're MedStop 1, you're going to put, MedStop 1 Medicare work papers for 12/31/2023. Label it that way. If you can, put your CCN number on there too. That's a 6-digit number on there, and then that will help us identify where it goes, and then upload that to our portal. That would be super helpful for you to do that. Here's just the first page of the checklist, and it goes through just how to get in touch with us. There's our phone numbers, there's our email addresses that you can reach out to us. Feel free to, that is my cell phone number. You're welcome to text anytime, call anytime. I pretty much work 7 days a week, 12 hours a day until November 1st, and then maybe not. When I retire. Maybe I'll quit working when I retire. But that's our first page of the checklist. That's what it looks like. This is the actual first page of information that we're going to gather. I think there's 18 things that we need. The first thing is, the way a cost report works is it is truly a cost report. We only have cost on it. We don't have revenues. We don't care about revenues, how much money you collected, all that sort of stuff doesn't matter for the most part to us. We don't look at that on the cost report. But what we will look is at your expenses, your trial balance, your financial statements, your federal tax return. If you've got those items, send them to us and we'll take a look and we'll see which one is best to use for that. If you have QuickBooks, Dani, can you tell me what you told me earlier about QuickBooks and how we could use that with our clients?
Yes, sir. So if you use QuickBooks Online, there should be an option, if you're comfortable with it, there should be an option where you can add your accountant. And if you want to add, it'll link to my personal email address, the dani.gilbert@outlook.com. And if you do that, that will give us access to get into your QuickBooks so that we can pull the reports we need. It also would help save time, like if there's questions that we have about your trial balance in the past, we've had to email back and forth with you so that you can look it up in QuickBooks or what have you to give us the details that we're asking. If we have access, obviously we can go in there and see for ourselves what exactly a certain payment was for or an expense was for. So that might help save time and the headache of you having to go look it up. Like I said, that just works for QuickBooks Online. I know that's a fairly new software. Most people probably were used to using the desktop version. That version will not give us access. It would have to be the QuickBooks Online. So that's just an option for you.
Yeah, that would make things so much easier. So add Dani if you've got the QuickBooks, if you got the latest version of QuickBooks, that would be great. If you can send us, like I said, we need at least one of these. If you send all 3, that's even better. But at least one of those is what we need from you guys. And then we will take this information and we will put it in the cost report in the form that Medicare requires it. So that's and what we do is we will transfer exactly the information that you have on there. Some of the information may not be what Medicare wants, and we'll make adjustments or reclassifications to that through the cost reporting preparation process. So that's the first thing we need. We have to have that. We don't have a choice there. We need that. Number 2 is we have our costs here and we have our visits here. Visits are our denominator in this calculation. We need your a visit count. And this is pretty complex, what Medicare requires, what Medicare counts and does not count as an RHC visit. In general, an RHC visit is a face-to-face encounter between a physician, nurse practitioner, PA, or There's now a long list of other providers that can provide at this particular encounter, and a medically necessary service is provided within the scope of practice for that particular provider. And so it gets rather complicated on computing that. The best way is for you guys to do what's called a CPT frequency report. We do not want it broken down between Medicare, Medicaid, self-pay, no pay for this particular exercise, because a lot of times if you do that, the CPT frequency will overcount, because we have commercial insurance is primary and Medicare is secondary, or Medicare is primary and Medicaid is secondary. And your computer may not know the difference, and it will double count those. If we double count your visits, what happens? We don't get paid more money, we get paid less money. Because remember our calculation here, cost divided by visits. If this visit number goes up, our cost goes down. So we want to count accurately what our visits are. We don't overcount, but we don't want to undercount as well. So CPT frequency report by provider. We need it by physician, nurse practitioner, PA, or whatever that other, all those other 6 or 7 new categories of people. We would want to have it broken down by that, and then we will count those for you line item by line item. That is absolutely the best way for you. It's easiest for you because you just print this report. Or if you have a manual count, we find that the most inaccurate and the most unreliable, but you can have a manual count if that's all you have. You can also go through and use our cheat sheets and try to put everything in the right place as well. Again, we prefer to do it for you. It's more work on us, but we think it's going to be much more accurate in the long run to do that. We'll show you our 7-page visit count cheat sheet in a minute. So it's a long one. Item number 3, W-2s. Remember, we put in the numbers exactly from your trial balance, but your trial balance doesn't have your salaries broken out between physician, nurse practitioner, PA, nurses, office workers, laboratory workers, x-ray workers, like the cost report wants. So what we need you to do is send us your W-2s and write down what each person does. Also, write down how many hours they work. And if they're a provider, definitely write down their hours so we can see how much time we have for what's called FTE calculations. So, and you'll want to do this for the period of time of your cost report. We're now talking about a 1231 cost report, so we can use W-2s. W-2s is an IRS form that's required to give everybody. Danny just gave me my W-2 just now, so I can go file my tax returns. Same thing with you guys. You're getting your W-2. We need a copy of those for everybody. Again, write down their position, write down how many hours they work, and then if they're working in laboratory and x-ray or splitting time, give us a percentage of time on there as well, and we will move that cost to the proper cost center. If you happen to be in a different cost report year, maybe you're a 331 cost report year end or a 630 year cost report year end, we'll need a payroll journal for that period of time. A W-2 is not going to work for us because it's not for the right period of time. So those are your W-2s. That's going to be extremely important that we get that information. If you do have a payroll journal that you'd rather use and you don't feel comfortable sending W-2s because they have Social Security numbers on it, that's fine. Send that to us, but give us the same information. We need gross salaries for these people. Okay. Influenza, pneumococcal, COVID. I need to add that. I forgot to put COVID on there, so we'll put COVID on there. But those logs we need a Medicare log with the patient name, their MBI number, and the date that you gave them the injection. We need this for your original Medicare patients, and we'll put that on the cost report, and you will get compensated for that. You'll get compensated very well. For pneumococcal, depending on whether the Prevnar 13 or 23 or that new version of it, you will get probably $300 or so for every pneumococcal shot you give. For a flu shot, usually ranging in the $60 to $70 range. For COVID shots, not sure. We've not done any cost reports yet with COVID on there. I'm thinking it's gonna probably be in the $200 range, because if I remember correctly, COVID shots are about $100, $110 a shot if you purchase them from Merck or from whoever sells those. We will need a count of your non-Medicare patients as well, because we need a total and we need the original Medicare, and then the cost report will generate a ratio, and that's how they pay you. We also need copies of your invoices. Medicare will ask for this, so we need to know how much you paid for that. So send us a copy of that invoice from Merck that you purchased 100 flu shots and you paid, $5,000 or whatever the number is for them. We need that. Number 5 on this list is a PS&R report. Dani can get this for you if you're a part of MCREF. Dani, you want to explain this section for me, what they need to do?
Yeah, so if you have access to the IDM, which we'll cover later today, you can actually add me as a PS&R user and as an authorized cost report repair, and I can actually pull your PS&R report for you. You can do it yourself. I can walk you through that, or I can pull it. If I have access, I can pull it for you.
And they need to make you the MCREF authorized cost report repair. Is that correct?
Yes, I'll cover that in the.
Okay, you're gonna cover it. Okay, all right, sounds good. Yeah. Okay, and then we try to get it yourself. If you completely fail at getting it or things go wrong, I mean, we can typically get a PS&R report from the MAC if we need to, but we don't want to do that every single time because they're going to get mad at us if we do it. But if we have a special situation and you have issues, the MACs have actually been pretty nice about supporting us in getting the proper information. I think it makes it easier for everybody if we have accurate PS&Rs, and we need it. We need that PS&R to have an accurate filing of the cost report, so we know exactly how much you owe and how much money you owe or how much money that you're going to get back. So that's important. Number 6 is a Medicare bad debt listing. Trent, you want to give us a little quick version of what Medicare bad debt is for these rural health clinics?
Yeah, absolutely. So Medicare bad debt, if you've heard me talk, then you've probably heard me talk about Medicare bad debt. Basically, it's just deductibles and coinsurance for Medicare beneficiaries that is unable to be collected. You have to keep a special log of that throughout the year in order to be able to claim it on the cost report, and it is of course reimbursed on the cost report. There's a lot we could go into about the specific amounts, the specific things that you need to do in order to be able to claim that. You have to, as I mentioned, you have to keep a log, and you have to have certain supporting information to support the data that's on that log. We've done recordings before of that information, so if you want to go check that out, that can give you a kind of a more in-depth rundown, or you can certainly reach out to me, email me, and I'm happy to further discuss or clarify anything about Medicare bad debts, because it can get pretty complicated sometimes.
Yeah. And there is a new form. There's a new template that Medicare released during the year. There's a link to it there. It's basically the same. If you've got a Medicare bad debt listing like we have before, and you've put all your information in it, there's no need to change it because it's the same information that we've had before, but that is the latest template. A couple reminders. This is additional money that you will receive on the cost report. Medicare will give you a 65% of the number that you put on there as an additional payment. Also, if you have Medicare as primary and Medicaid is secondary, and Medicaid does not pay the full copay or the full deductible, and they leave you short and you have no way to collect that money, that is called a crossover or a dual eligible bad debt, and you can put that on the cost report, and Medicare will give you 65% of that. So keep a separate schedule for what I call straight Medicare, where they don't have Medicaid, and write those off. You'll get 65% of that. And then people that have Medicare and Medicaid, and Medicaid does not pay the copay or the deductible like they should, put that on a separate listing, and you'll get 65% of that listing as well. So very important that if you have Medicare bad debts, that you claim it. Most people don't claim it, although because it is hard to get it. But you know, probably about 20% of our clients actually claim bad debts, and they get a pretty good return on it. Number 7, related party transactions. What Medicare will not allow you to deal with yourself. If you have control of both sides of the transaction, maybe you rent the building to yourself from an LLC that you own that building. Medicare will say, oh, you charge yourself $1 million for rent. They're not just going to let you allow that $1 million as an allowable expense on the cost report. They're going to look and see what the actual cost was. Was your mortgage payment $100,000? Was your depreciation on the building another $100,000? And then was your property taxes another $50,000? Yes. So they're going to say you only had $250,000 of real expense. So that's what's going to be allowable on the cost report. And you really need to look closely at these related party transactions, because if you're generating a big profit, that's going to hurt your cost per visit on your cost report. So go back, talk to your tax accountant and say, hey, these caps are going up for Medicare. We need to sort of do a little bit of math here and see which way is better. Do we get a better return on our tax return, or do we get a better return on our Medicare cost report? So the math will get a little bit tough on this, but it's the question you need to ask. I mean, but we don't have a choice. We have to report this to Medicare as a related party transaction. There's a section called A-8-1 where we have to list that. Also, if you have relatives there, if your spouse is employed, if your children are employed, you're paying them salaries, let us know. We need to report that to Medicare that you have a related party there. S-3 information. This is basically just what is the name of the clinic and what are the hours of operation. Very, very simple. Laboratory. Laboratory is not considered to be a part of the all-inclusive rate, because you can bill laboratory services to Medicare Part B and get paid fee for service for it if you're an independent RHC. What that means is we can't claim that cost on the cost report. We have to exclude it. And we need to know how much time it takes for your nurses to do those lab tests. Now, if you've got a dedicated person who just does lab, then we will basically disallow he or she's salary. But if you've got somebody that's a jack of all trades, which most of these rural health clinics, your nurses they're doing everything. And they may be doing lab tests for you as well. So you'll want to do just about 20-25 time studies on each different type of lab test, just to see how long does it take. Does it take 5 minutes to do an A1C? Does it take 7 minutes to do a pregnancy test? And go through and count those, and we on the cost report will compute how much total time it takes and how much that time costs you, and we will disallow it. FTE calculation. For rural health clinics, physicians should see a minimum of 2,100 visits, or it's going to hurt your cost per visit. So did I say 2,100? 4,200. Physicians see 4,200 visits. Nurse practitioners and PAs see 2,100 visits. That is the minimum productivity standard. We will need to know how much time your physicians work in your clinic. Do they work 40 hours a week? They're going to be a 1.0 FTE. Do they only work 2 days a week, 8 hours a day? They're going to be a 0.40 FTE. We need you to tell us how much time they're working so we can put the proper FTE on there, and we can get the proper depreciation, the proper FTE calculation and proper productivity screen on there. I was reading the next line. Depreciation. If you do have a depreciation schedule from your tax return, give it to us and we will convert it to straight line depreciation. Number 12, any correspondence you get from Medicare, give that to us, especially if you've got notices of program reimbursement or interim settlements. CMS requires your MAC to look at your rate and twice a year do some type of interim settlement or some type of rate adjustment for you. We need those letters so we can put those on the cost report. As if you've got a settlement where you had to pay money back, we want to give you credit for it. If they paid you money, then we have to give them credit for it in order for our settlement to be correct. So that's number 12. Number 13 is visit counts for payer mix. This is a situation where we actually do need you to break your numbers by payer mix. There's a S-3 worksheet on there for visits that we have to put this information on there. We will not use this in the cost per visit calculation, but we will use this as an information only item that we will put on the cost report, as it is a required item for Medicare. We will use the PSNR number of visits on there because it has to tie. We will get a fatal error if we don't do that. So that's what we do. Okay, 14, there's information only request for malpractice information as well. You have to put down what type of malpractice insurance you have, whether it's claims made or occurrence, and how much that you've paid. Number 15 on here is we've added a new schedule this year for outside services. A lot of you guys use, maybe you may use a CCM company to do your chronic care management. Maybe you have a medical director that you're paying a contract fee. We have all these contract fees that have to be handled differently on the cost report. Maybe you have contract nursing, contract nurse practitioners. There's all sort of contracted services. We need an analysis of that so we can put it in the proper cost center. That was what took a lot of time last year, was emailing people backwards and forwards, trying to figure out what's going on outside services. So that's going to be important that you do that. Number 16, these are the letters from MAC again. I guess it's so important I put it in there twice. And who is going to sign the cost report? When Dani, we want to electronically file your cost reports. We don't want to do it on paper. Paper is a hassle. Electronic is the way to go. So get Dani set up on MCREF, and then whoever's going to be the official person signing it, let us know, and we will put that in MCREF, and that will be the official person that signs it. If you have more than one RHC, maybe you have 10 RHCs that you own and they're owned by one entity, then give us the name of that entity so that we can put on there as well. Trent, Dani, Paige, do you have any questions about the checklist so far?
I think you've covered it pretty well.
Okay. I believe so.
All right. Paige, we good?
Yep, we're good.
Right. We're doing good. Okay, good deal. Here are the work papers real quick. Who are you? This is the first thing we just need to know who you are. And the most important thing is type of ownership. Make sure this is what your legal entity is. If you have to look at the IRS form, the CP 575 or whatever that form is, look that up and get your exact legal name and what type of entity you are. That's important. The reason why it's important is Medicare treats owner's compensation differently depending on what type of entity you are. If you're sole proprietor, a single member LLC, a multi-member LLC, we can use what's called a value of services for your particular clinic. If you're an S corporation or a C corp, we cannot use that. So we'll want to make sure that we have the correct information on your type of entity. Here is a summary of the different types. There's sole proprietor, we can use value of services, LLC, single member, multi-member, we can use it. For corporation and sub-S, you have to be paid the money in order for us to claim it. If you are an LLC and you've elected to be sub-S corporation and you do get a K1, then you're not eligible for value of services, but you can use that K1 compensation as compensation that we can put on the cost report as an allowable expense. So that's generally what all the cost report preparers have been doing. This one here is not in plain black and white. in the regulations, but if you are a sub-S corporation, what I would do is try to pay yourself as much salary as possible. Number one, the IRS is going to like you for doing that. And number two is it's going to make it a lot cleaner on your cost report. So keep that in mind. If you are a LLC that elects sub-S corporation, pay yourself as much salary as you can. If you don't, and you show a big K1 income, then you can claim that portion as expense on your cost report, but you cannot use value of services. And I know that's confusing. That's confusing to me, and I've been doing this 35, 40 years. Here's the regulation that allows us to use value of services. It basically says we can put on this cost report what Mark thinks he's worth, which, believe me, it's a lot, and then what he actually gets paid, which is not a lot. So we can do that. Here's what it would look like. Is this person here was a 1.4 FTE. They must have worked a whole lot. The compensation for the FTE, we used a benchmarking report that said this particular person would average 163,208, which would be a reasonable value. We multiplied those two numbers, and we said that this person was worth 228,000, but they were paid $223,000 in actual money, and we adjusted your cost report up by $5,000. We'll never have to pay that money. We don't have to pay taxes on it. We just adjust the cost report and say, Mark thinks he was worth $5,000 more than what was on the cost report. We put work papers in, we support it, and then the MAC will take a look at it and see if it's reasonable or not. Here's the timesheet. Make sure that you give us your times of operation. If you have non-RHC time, maybe you're doing Botox, maybe you're doing weight loss clinics, maybe you're doing all sorts of weird things that aren't during rural health clinic hours, that's perfectly fine. Let us know. We will exclude that time from the cost report. And then here's the lump sum payments. Record these, put these in your work papers so that we know what they are. If you don't put this in here, your cost report is going to be off. You're going to be mad at us for getting it wrong, but this is the biggest reason why they're off. Malpractice insurance, we talked about having to do that. There's what your work paper is going to look like for that. Here's your visit reports for payer mix. This is payer mix here. So we need chips, Medicare, which I don't even know how to do chips. Dani, do you know how to do, how do we compute chips? I don't even know how to do that.
We usually just ask if the clinic's able to provide that number. A lot of times that's 0 because it's not very common.
Yeah, I've never figured out how to do that. So Medicare, that comes straight from the PSNR. Your Medicaid visits, that's pretty clear. And then anything else, your insurance, your self-pays, all that goes in another category. But we'll need that report. And if you have more than one entity, like different CCN numbers, we need this broken down by the different CCN numbers that you have. So if we're doing a consolidated cost report and you have 5 different CCN numbers, we need it by 5 different. We need it by 5 different CCN numbers or 5 different clinics. This is the new schedule that we added this year. Amounts related to contract nursing, medical directorship, repairs and maintenance, legal, accounting, chronic care management, anything that you're paying as an outside service. Let us know, and we will put this in the proper place on the cost report. That will save us a ton of time on the cost report when we do it. Here's your little time study. What you'll put here is your A1C, your pregnancy test, your cold stool, any one of your hemoglobin. You'll put here, count the number of do like 15 different of them, time, how long it took you to do each one of them, average test per time, and then we will multiply that by the frequency. And that will give us your total hours. Then we'll multiply that by the hourly rate of the person that's doing it. So if you're paying them $20 an hour, we'll multiply it by $20 an hour. And then we will disallow $270,000 in salary for laboratory, for A1C. And then we'll do that for pregnancy test. And we'll disallow $700 for that. So we'll do that for each one of your lab tests that you do that are billed to Medicare Part B. Here is the visit count cheat sheet. You will see it looks relatively complicated. We have to have it broken down between physician visits, PA visits, nurse practitioner visits, and then we're going to have to add a bunch of columns for all these new provider types that have been added. But we will need this. We're trying to break it down and we tell you how it's treated on the cost report. So again, it's relatively complicated on how to do this. But this is the most complicated thing that we do on the cost report is counting visits correctly. So that's what these are going through. One thing to notice on telehealth visits is there's two different categories of telehealth visits. If it's for a sick visit, I had to go in and see the doctor for, I got a steroid shot the other day and got antibiotics and all that sort of stuff. That's a sick visit. That's not a part of the RHC all-inclusive rate. We don't count that as a visit, and you'll get paid a rate of $95.37 for that. I am crazy. I saw my therapist the other day. I was like, therapist, I'm going to retire. What am I going to do next year? My identity is being an RHC consultant. How are you going to help me get through this? And they didn't give me any good answers. But that is a 0900 revenue code. That will be a part of your all-inclusive rate. We will count that as a visit, and you will get your all-inclusive rate. So telehealth is two different buckets that you're dealing with there. If you get a fee-for-service rate, that's going to be disallowed on the cost report, and we're going to pull that cost out of the cost report. So that's it. Now, these are services, ancillary services. These are billed to Medicare Part B, and you're paid fee-for-service for this. Again, I'm talking independent RHCs because that's really our audience today. So your lab services, we need to know how many lab tests that you did so we can pull that cost out. Radiology, we're going to do the same thing with that. And then any technical components, you build a Medicare Part B. Think of your EKG, the 93005 portion of it, the technical piece, you're going to build that to Medicare Part B and get paid for it. The 93010 portion of it, the interpretation of it, that's going to be incident to as a part of your RHC visit. That's going to be an allowable expense. You do not bill the 93000 to Medicare as a global. No globals in Medicare that you bill them. Okay. Venipuncture is weird. It's the 36415. It's in your laboratory. You think it's going to be a lab service. It's not. It is incident to. We will not exclude the cost for venipuncture. So keep up with that. That is a part of incident to, part of your RHC visit, and part of that all-inclusive rate. So that one is very strange. Okay, here's your healthcare providers, your FTEs that we want to count, your 4,200 and your 2,100. Pretty simple, pretty easy. Physician working full-time should be 17 visits a day. Nurse practitioners and PAs, it's about 8.5 visits per day that we need for these productivity standards there. We do need you to keep up with this. Write down your number of physicians, how many hours on average they work each week. Same thing for your PAs, your nurse practitioners, your mental health providers. And again, we're probably going to have to add some more rows for additional provider types in the future. Super important that we get this information, and we need a time study for that. This is an old paper version that I have done. Basically, a time study for Medicare purposes. For rural health clinics, they make it a little bit easier. You can do 1 week per quarter, and they will accept that. If you read the Medicare rules, it says you should be doing 1 week per month and a different week each month. Now, most of our clients really cannot get anywhere near that. So if we just get one of these per quarter, we will be happy. And Trent has designed an Excel spreadsheet for you guys that you can actually do your time studies using Excel. Trent, do you have anything to tell us about this? I read it, you know me, I am so technically challenged that my brain just fried. So can you help us on this?
Yeah, sure. So if you use the file that we put together, really all you got to do is it looks very daunting when you open it. There's a bunch of different tabs to it. Really, each different tab after the first one just represents a different quarter for a different provider. There's enough on there for having up to 3 physicians, up to 3 physician assistants, up to 3 nurse practitioners, and up to 3 mental health providers. If you have any more than 3 of any one of those categories, and you want to use this for your time studies, let me know, and I can build out the spreadsheet easily enough to make that work. But basically, you just fill out one of those tabs for each provider for each quarter, and then it will automatically populate the averages into the first tab, which is what we use to calculate the FTEs. And then on that first tab, you will have to put in the number of weeks per year, like the number of weeks that were worked throughout the year. So, for most of the providers, that's going to be, 52 or nearly 52. And that just helps us get a more accurate representation of what the actual yearly FTE is. It's simple enough, but it looks complicated and daunting. If you want to use it and that you're still having trouble, once again, feel free to reach out and I can help walk you through it.
Okay. Thank you, Trent. Yeah, they're probably not as inept as I am with technology, so that's good. Here's what your pneumococcal and influenza shots look like. The flu log here, like I said, name, MBI number, data service is what we're looking for there. Here's what the actual log will look like. Again, put all this information on here. It really helps if you fill out these logs. First off, if you do it on an Excel spreadsheet, it works great. That way we can just add up everything. If you use these paper versions, count each page number, count the number there. So we got 20, and then page total, and then the total here. Just make a running total so we can just check your math at the end, and that will save us time on that. Here is your Medicare Bad Debt Excel spreadsheet. This is the template that was published as well. Again, we have an Excel spreadsheet that's almost exactly the same thing for you guys to use as well. And then, okay, Dani, okay, I finished up with my portion there. Dani, you want to real quickly just tell them a little bit about IDM and whatever else we have going?
In 8 minutes. All right, we'll try.
I know. I said it would take me long, and I always do that. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll just try to. I did a lot of screenshots in these next few slides, so if I don't touch on something, you can at least reference back to them. Basically, I'm going to cover the IDM system, which was set up so that end users can use the same login credentials across multiple CMS applications. They did publish a user guide that's 79 pages long. If you want some light reading, I'm happy to forward that to you, but I've tried to condense what you need in the next few slides. Mark, if you'll go to the next slide.
Oh, sorry.
The next slide is going to just show the objectives of what I'm going to try to cover quickly. Some I'll dive in a little bit more in depth just because they'll be the most daunting, I guess, for lack of a better word. Go ahead, Mark. The first one is setting up a new user account. If you are unsure if your clinic already has an account, reach out to me and I can actually go in on my end and look to see if one's been set up, to save a little bit of headache on trying to figure that out. Over the next few slides, it's gonna show you how to set up a new user account if you don't have one. The website listed on this slide is where you will go to start it. And then that little red button will be the new user registration if you do not have an account. And so you'll want to click on that. The first section that's going to pop up is going to ask for personal information of the individual who's setting up the account. You'll fill out all the details listed on the screen and then click the next button. The next page is going to ask for the contact information, and this is going to be for that individual because the IDM is linked to an individual, not a entity as a whole. This will be for the specific individual who's setting up access. So I usually recommend the owner to do this, or if you know that the practice administrator is going to be there long term, that person could have access as well. The next section will be setting up user credentials. That's where you'll set your user ID and password, select security questions, enter the answer, and then once you submit this form, it's going to take you back to the beginning. It's going to look like it just kicked you out, but actually you're going to use the credentials that you just made and enter them in on the login screen. Okay. Once you log in, the dashboard has these 4 different function buttons. They provide the user access to the functions that are accessed through the dashboard. The little person, I don't know if you can see in the screenshot, the little person up at the top right that has the number 2 is your request counter. So if you have any pending request, for instance, if I have submitted a request to be added as the MCREF authorized cost report preparer or a PSNR user, that little counter will show that you have a pending request. The drop-down menu beside your name is going to be where you find the log out function. So when you're done within the system and ready to log out, you'll click that little arrow and it'll give you that option. Okay. The next topic is going to be how to request a role for a new application. More specifically, in our situation, you're going to want to get access set up with the PSNR/STAR application. To request access, you'll want to click the role request button that was on the dashboard that was on the previous slide, and then you'll follow the instructions on this slide to select the correct application. You'll be able to select PSNR-STAR, and then after that, everything's going to populate as you make your selections. If you don't see PSNR-STAR as an application when you're going to request a role, it means you've already got access. So once you have access to an application, that's removed from the options to select. I'm trying to think if there was anything else on that one. Yeah, actually, once you select the application, it's going to give you the roles. You're going to want to choose the PSNR security official or PSNR user. The difference is every clinic has to have a security official. More than likely, you're going to want the owner to have that. If you have an office manager who then wants access, they're going to just select PSNR user. The authorized or the security official is the one who approves the role requests for any other users. Once you select the role, the remote identity proofing terms and conditions will appear. That's what the process that they use to confirm a person's identity. There's 3 different types of verification. They start with the easiest, which is online proofing, and they use just a computer-based verification service. If they can't approve you or verify you through that, then they go to phone proofing, and then lastly would be a manual proofing where a help desk individual actually reaches out and tries to verify you are who you say you are. Once that's been completed, the attributes menu will be shown so that you can select the required attributes from the menu for your role request. You're going to review the information that you had previously entered, and then you have to add a justification for the request. I usually put cost report preparation or something along those lines. The screen that Mark's now showing is how to add attributes. Nope, go back, Mark. To an existing role. Back one more.
Back one more?
Back one more. Yep, right there. To view your roles, you'll want to click the Manage My Roles button on that dashboard. And then you can see, nope, forward.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay, right there, right there. That first box is what you'll see. And see on my account, you can see I have 2 roles. I have a PSNR user role and an MCREF authorized cost report preparer or filer role. So you'll be able to see those, and on those you'll have those little action buttons out to the side, and that's going to be where you can view details, modify details, add or delete a role. Once you click on the view details, the bottom screenshot is what's going to look like, and it's going to list all of the roles that you have. So to the left, you can see I'm a PSNR user for multiple locations. And then if I click on it, the little box to the right will show me the information for that specific clinic. If you scroll all the way to the bottom of this, then it'll give you an option for a modify role. And that comes in handy. Mark, you can go to the next slide. That would come if you have multiple clinics within the same tax ID. You can actually modify the role to include multiple CCN numbers. Because when you pull the PSNR report, if you do not have all the CCN numbers listed, you will not be able to access PSNR for the other locations. So that's the important part for that. Okay, Mark. The last topic is how to view and cancel role requests. This is where I think if you'll remember back to the beginning when I was showing the little man with the 2 counter, that's where all those requests will be housed. You can view details of the request, cancel it, or approve it from this section. Once your account is set up, you'll want to consider adding your cost report preparer both as a PSNR user, so we can pull the PSNR report, and as the MCREF authorized cost report filer. That's 2 different roles that I'll have to request access for, and I won't request them unless you ask me to. If you notify me, or if you don't use your own cost report preparer, that you have an account that's been set up, we can go in and request those roles from you. Once we request them, the PSNR security official will get an email, and it will show in the counter, and then you can approve them from that. I know that's a lot of information I just threw at you really quick, but if you have any questions or need assistance with the IDM, please feel free to reach out, and I can help you get on the right track.
All right. Thank you, Dani. Paige, you want to go over real quick about just the canopy, so how they can upload information to us safely and securely, especially the PHI?
Yeah, go to the next slide, Mark. So we use the Canopy client portal to securely share documents, especially anything with HIPAA information, anything with patient information, or anything with salary information like the W-2s, things like that. You want to use your Canopy portal versus just emailing it to us. So everybody has their own username and password, and usually when we're onboarding clients, we set up the portal logins based on whose contact we have. But if for any reason that changes, or you guys need to add additional people to your Canopy account, just email me, and my email address is in the slides as well, and we can get that person added. Anybody that has access to the client can upload. Anybody that has access as a user can upload documents. Mark, go to the next one. And then here is just kind of how it looks like when you log in. You'll see your contact information on that side, and then there's this little I don't want to call it a button. It's like a word, and you hover over it, and it'll let you upload here in yellow, or you can drag and drop files in there, and we will get email notifications when you guys upload files. But please, if you've got everything uploaded in there for your cost report, shoot us an email and let us know that you've got that all in there so we can get started. Sometimes the system's really good about letting us know, but sometimes it does slip through the cracks. So if you can just shoot us an email and say, Dani, Paige, Trent, whoever's working on your cost report, just to let you know I added everything to Canopy. Let me know if you need anything else or something like that. And then Mark. And then, yes, so you can, the last view was how you upload a single file. You can also, if you go to the 3 dots at the end here, you can upload a whole folder. So if you've got a folder on your drive or on your desktop or something that's got all your cost report documents in it, instead of having to individually select each one of those, you can upload a folder as well. Next slide, Mark. And then here's just what it looks like, a file view with folders. So once you upload your documents in there, usually we'll go in and do a file folder called we usually call it whatever the year RHC cost report. I'll move the documents into there, and then once we're finished with the cost report and we get it filed, we also drop those files in there at the end as well. Mark, go to the next slide. And like I said, here's my contact information. If anybody doesn't have access to the Canopy portal but needs it, shoot me an email, give me a call, whatever. It'd probably be easiest to shoot me an email so I have the emails to add. Or if you have any issues, just let me know. Happy to help.
Thank you, Paige.
Yeah.
All right, and I think that's all we're going to talk about today. If you have questions, we will go ahead and start taking questions because we're 5 minutes over already. I think I see one question. Okay, Louise. And Louise works with us on a contract basis and really helps people with billing. So Louise says, Medicare bad debt confirmation. Alabama Medicaid has limited visits. Once exceeded, no pay comes in. Can we add that co-insurance dollar amount to the cost report log? It errors with PR 119 if that helps. Dani, you can help me with this, answer this. My understanding is in that case where they've run out of days, that's not going to be something that you can add to the bad debt listing. Is that the way you understand that as well?
I'm going to defer to Trent on that one.
Oh, you're going to pass that to Trent.
In my mind, I would think, and I'm playing devil's advocate, is they're Medicaid, so they're, my mind just went blank, indigent.
Yeah.
So, Trent, you want to weigh in?
Yeah, it was an issue where they've run out of days. I don't know that I've actually encountered that, like specifically where that was my knowledge of what the situation was. But yeah, I mean, if they've run out of days, then I would agree with what Dani said, that they're probably in a situation where they're an indigent patient and Medicaid may be responsible for that. Of course, then by that logic, if Medicaid is then denying it, then maybe it's a crossover. I don't know.
That's kind of what I was leaning towards, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think because of the way I've always done it, thought about it was if Medicaid denied, if they've run out of days, then it's really not it's not covered under Medicaid. It's not going to show up as something that on a remittance device at that point. You have to have a remittance device to claim something on a Medicare bad debt. And because you don't have a remittance device that came from Medicaid saying, oh yeah, here's the amount we paid, you're basically just getting a dial. I don't think I've not been putting it on there as a bad debt. So
she does have a remittance advice though. It's a patient responsibility error. So
well, we may want to probably ought to try it and see. So that'd be good. Okay. Are you aware of any billing company that specializes in billing that are familiar with eClinical Works? Oh, I don't know. Dani, do you know anybody that does eClinical that's a billing company?
I have a couple billers. I'm not sure if they're familiar with it. I don't even know. Louise may have worked with it before. I'm not sure with all the others that she helps with. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Louise is probably your best bet because she's really good at all those systems.
Oh, no, she has not worked with eClinical.
Oh,
I'll talk to a couple of my contacts and see.
Okay, we had somebody, okay, Louise, somebody had their hands open or their hand up earlier. I'm going to try. Nope. Okay, it's down now. Elaine, do you have a question or are you still around? If you are, you can raise your hand and I'll open up your line if you've got a microphone. Oh, she does. Okay. All right, Elaine, you're now self-muted. If you want to talk, you can. Oh, no. Okay, now you're self-muted. Sorry, I clicked the button. It didn't work. Now, okay, we're all okay. Everybody, stop clicking the button. I think we're all four of us are clicking the button at one time. Okay, Elena, now you should be able to talk. Now it says you're self-muted. There we go. Now you're good. You're green. Okay, and we're not hearing anything. This is the worst radio station. I never open these lines up because this always happens. Yeah. Are you guys hearing anything?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. It's not, Elaine, it's not working for some reason. I don't know why. I'm gonna put you back on mute then. I'm sorry. Just email us. It's email us, marklynrhc@gmail.com, and we'll be glad to answer your question. Let's see, Helen Parker. We use VaxCare for our vaccinations. Do we report this? VaxCare is the bane of our existence. You know, you're not going to report anything because VaxCare is the one that's doing it. Whether the question is whether it's right that you're using VaxCare or not as a rural health clinic. VaxCare has a 6-page memorandum from an attorney that says because you don't get paid as much from VaxCare as you would normally as a rural health clinic, that it's okay. I don't really believe that. What I tell people is you should be pulling out your Medicare original patients and running them through the cost report like you're told to do instead of using VaxCare for those. And then put that on the cost report. But since VaxCare's already done all that, you definitely do not want to report it on the cost report because you'd be double. You'd be getting paid for something that you actually did not do. Danny, is that your interpretation of that, or am I missing?
Yes, sir. I always pull them out so they don't double dip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, VaxCare is an issue. We've talked to CMS about it. We've not heard back from CMS on any definitive information. I mean, we do have the letter that their attorneys wrote, but I don't really trust that letter. No, is it hurting you? No, it's actually, it's just, I mean, you would actually get more money for those particular items on the cost report than giving them free. But a small clinic, your problem is when you buy these pneumococcal and COVID and all these vaccines, they cost so daggone much. For you guys to store it and have the refrigeration and all that, you just can't really afford to do it, and they'll go bad, they'll expire by the time you use them. It's actually, I mean, a good deal for the rural health clinics. It's just getting it approved, making sure that Medicare is all on board with it is where I've come from. So. Why do you ask hard questions? It's like, at the beginning, I was like, oh, there's no questions. This is good. This is going to be easy. And then everybody asks hard questions. Okay. Any more? I'm not seeing any more. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I know we were going over by 15 minutes, but it seems like these sessions always go over by 15 minutes here lately. But thank you all for joining. Thank you, Danny, Trent, Paige, for being very helpful during the session. We really do appreciate it. And we will see everybody soon. Thank you.